Hi, I'm 21 Times. Welcome to this Celestial Storm preview. You might know my work from Pojo.com or PokéDexCentral.com. I've done a lot of writing there, but I'm going to actually try my first video. So this is a Celestial Storm preview, and as you probably know, Celestial Storm comes out on August 3rd. So just to give you an idea, the scope of this review focuses on a meta that is actually post-Dragon Majesty. So while it's mostly going to be focused on Celestial Storm, I don't think we can look at Celestial Storm in a vacuum because Dragon Majesty comes out barely 34 days later, 35 days later. So considering that there is so little room, I mean, we have Celestial Storm, Rotation, Dragon Majesty. The meta is going to completely convulse between today and September 7th. So I watched the movie Hidden Figures this weekend. Really good movie. Definitely recommend it. But one of the lines that Kevin Costner has in the movie is that he says, you know, I'm trying to get a man to orbit around the Earth, but the math's not there. The math hasn't been invented yet. And in my mind, I'm already there. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in the meta. I'm kind of living in this. This is always the crazy part of the year for Pokemon, where there's, you know, old meta, new cards coming in, and then rotation. And in my mind, I am already post-rotation. I am already post-Dragon Majesty. So just to give you an idea, if you're looking for a Rayquaza deck that has max elixirs, this isn't going to happen. I am already, like I said, post-rotation, post-Dragon Majesty. I'm not going to review every card in the set. I'm not going to waste your time with Jirachi Prime. We also, please realize we don't have official translations yet for most of these cards. So while we're probably like 99% certain, there could still be some small changes. The one thing that comes to mind in my mind is Venusaur from Shining Legends, where there was some question about two different translations. And I'm focusing basically on, I'm assuming there are going to be 5 major archetypes post-Dragon Majesty. Squids, Zoroark fill in the blank, or, I mean, really, Zoroark Magcargo fill in the blank. Buzzball Rayquaza, and a Nebulous Fire deck that I am pretty sure is going to develop, but I don't know exactly what it is yet. So I'm going to start with universal cards, and what I mean by that is cards that can be used in any set. And these aren't just supporters or items. There are a lot of Pokemon in this set, that will give you draw support, that will help put Pokemon on your bench, you know, that will do a lot of different things to you that in the past supporters or items would have done. There are a lot of really good, like I say, the only way I can describe them is universal cards. So we're going to start there. We're going to start with Acrobike. We've only been without this card for about a year. Everybody knows what this does. It is probably the best card in the set that's not named Rayquaza GX. It's great it'll be great for the Squids. It'll be great in use with Sableye, a card that's coming up. This mythical fire deck that I'm looking at, that I'm thinking about, and basically any deck that wants to get to the cards it needs faster. It's a great card. It's going to be a 4 of in pretty much every deck. And we're starting to see a pattern develop, this kind of idea develop from the designers that you're going to be using the discard pile more. Granted, we don't have Battle Compressor. We're not going to be using it to that extent that Battle Compressor was a couple of years ago. But the discard pile is going to be a resource that we need to use. You will need to use your discard pile to win games. I mentioned it a minute ago, Magcargo, probably the 3rd best card in the set that's not named Rayquaza GX. This is Zoroark's new best friend. The ability allows you to place 1 card from your deck on top of your deck. You can use your imagination. When this card was previously legal in the format, it was used. Commonly used. Guzma, Acerola, Choice Band, whatever energy you might need. Pairing that with Zoroark, I mean, you can. I don't need to speak to that. Everybody already knows what this is all about. One thing I haven't seen is people. I'm looking at pairing this with Sableye. Because, again, like I said, you are going to need to use your discard pile to win games. Sableye allows you, so with Magcargo, you can go grab the psychic energy you need, put it on top of your deck, use Sableye, and I'll get to Sableye a little on, but use his ability to put that psychic energy in the discard pile. So there are tons of different things that we're going to be using with Magcargo. Zoroark Magcargo is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's the most obvious. I'm sure there are other pairings as well. The one thing that I've seen that nobody's mentioned is the fact that it has a 3 retreat cost. That's a really bad retreat. And we'll talk a little bit later about the possibilities of a spread deck developing. And there is a real chance that a spread deck could be a real thing coming. And with counter catcher and no floatstone no longer in the format, this 3 retreat cost could be a huge liability for Zoroark decks. But we'll get to that later. So Sableye. I'm just putting it here. I don't know if it's a great card or not. Most people are just kind of blowing it off. I definitely don't think it's a blow-off card. This is not a bad card. So this ability allows you to look at the top card of your deck and either discard it or leave it there. So like I said, Squids, you put your psychic energy on top and then you discard it. If you want a Pokemon, if you want a stage 2 fire Pokemon in your discard pile, bam, you put it there and then you discard with Magcargo and then discard it. And then Magcargo can also put cards you don't want on top of your deck too. I mean, let's say you're running 4 Dunsparce, which is another card we'll get to in a minute. Put one of the Dunsparce on your top of your deck, use Sableye to discard it. That way you don't have to worry about drawing into it. The biggest problem with Sableye is that there is just not enough room on the bench. If you have 4 Zoroark and a Magcargo and maybe a Tapu Lele, there's no room for Sableye. There's no room for it. I mean, even in a post-parallel city meta, I just don't know if there's always going to be enough room for this to put it on your bench. The attack isn't bad. It could be a little bit disruptive. The attack is choose one of your opponent's attacks, and that defending Pokemon cannot use it next turn. Look at Ultra Necrozma. You just totally turned off Ultra Necrozma. You totally turned off. Buzzwole still has Jet Punch, but he's not going to be able to annihilate you. Baby Buzzwole won't be able to use Sledgehammer. So this attack is not that bad. And I would just like to close by saying that I was completely and totally right on the last Sableye, dominating the format with its supporter lock. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that too. So. Copycat, it saw frequent use when it was last in the meta. Again, this card, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw a number of cards equal to the number of cards in your opponent's hand. I don't think this will be used before Dragon Majesty, but after Dragon Majesty, I'm sure this will be used quite a bit. And a couple of reasons that I don't think anybody's mentioned is that there are a couple of really good cards that are going to put a lot of cards into your opponent's hand, and then it will become your turn. So, for instance, Drampa's Big Wheel, Rayquaza's Tempest, Blade's Explosive Battle. It doesn't stop the turn, but it's still going to put a whole lot of cards in your opponent's hand if they get to use it. And then Plusle, which could potentially put 10 cards in your opponent's hand. Can you imagine your opponent plays Plusle, and then you play Copycat, and you get 10 cards? So your opponent's used Drampa Big Wheel, thinking he's going to get a great advantage here, having 10 cards to draw from, and you get that same ability, use that 10 cards, and your turn doesn't end. Copycat is going to be used. I don't know if it's a 4 of, but it is definitely going to be a 2. It's definitely going to be a 2 of in this post-rotation meta. Apricorn Maker. Most people are completely blowing this card off. I love this card. I have been asking Pokemon for a long time to give us a card that will let us go get multiple non-GX evolution Pokemon. currently in the meta, we have no way to go get multiple evolution Pokemon. We have Olivia. You want to go grab 2 GX, you want to go grab 2 Zoroarks, you want to go grab 2 Shiftry GXs, you want to go grab 2 Blaziken GXs, you want to go grab 2 Incineroar GXs, no problem. Go get Olivia. Olivia will do that for you. You want to go grab 2 Glades. Sorry, we got nothing. You want to go grab 2 Swamperts. Nothing. Finally, with the Apricorn Maker, we have a way to do that. So now you can go grab two basically ball cards. You can grab, and I'm recommending you Lure Ball, Timer Ball, Ultra Ball. You go grab them and put them into your hand. Now, the problem with Lure Ball is it only works on, and we'll see it in a minute, it only works on Pokemon in your discard, so it's not a good early card. Timer Ball, it's a coin flip. Ultra Ball, you got to discard 2 cards. So all of them have some limitations. But the fact is that if you're running Swampert, Ludicolo, Blaziken, if you're running any Stage 2 deck, any deck with Vikavolt, if you're running any Stage 2 deck, you're going to need a copy of your Apricorn Maker. I don't know if you'll need 2. I don't know if you'll need 4. But this is a great way to get multiple non-GX evolution Pokemon. Lure Ball, flip 3 coins for each heads, choose an evolution card from your discard pile, and show it to your opponent and put it in your hand. So great card, later in the game. Early, if you get it in your hand turn 1, it's going to be discard fodder for your Ultra Ball or whatever. But with Apricorn, like I said, the chance of pulling 0 evolution Pokemon are 1.5% if you grab 2 of these. If you use that Apricorn Maker, you grab 2 or Lure Balls, chances are you're probably getting 3 Pokemon. So averages, the way it is, the average, you're going to probably average 3 Pokemon. You're at least going to get 1 or 2. And there's virtually no chance that you're going to completely strike out. So, again, very good card. Definitely don't sleep on this card. So, again, so Metagross and Steven's Resolve. So Steven's Resolve allows you to go into your deck and select any 3 cards you want. The problem is that your turn immediately ends after choosing those cards, unless Metagross is in the active position. And I originally read this and I thought, oh, forget it. This is just like Glaceon GX. This is just like Slaking GX. You got to be in the active. Forget it. It's unplayable because of that condition. Well, I thought about it some more and I realized if one of the 3 cards you go grab is a switching card, like Guzma or Switch, Escape Rope. I don't know, is Escape Rope still legal? I think Escape Rope's still legal. But so you can then switch Metagross out and you can go attack. The downside to that is, well, all of a sudden it's become, instead of grabbing 3 cards you need, you can only grab 2 cards you need. So you have to grab a Switch and a Rare Candy and Vikavolt, where you have to grab a Switch, a Guzma, and an Energy, and the Stage 2 Pokemon. So it's good, but it's not quite as good unless, like I said, unless you can grab that Escape Rope that you need. So, and if you have cards that are good that are in your hand already, that can build off of, it's good. I don't think this is great, but I think, like previously, before I thought about grabbing the Switch card, I thought this was unplayable. Forget it. Now, it's okay. I don't think it's going to be great, but I think, this tandem, could be used in a variety of situations. Licia, I'm not sure. Licia. This allows you to search your deck for up to 2 Prism Star cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. It's okay if you need Latios, Lance Prism. We'll get to a lot of these cards later. Beast Energy and Deancey, that's the one that most people point out for Buzzwole. Volcanion and Cyrus, that's one that the only other one I could think of. So obviously, like Rare Candy said in his set review, scraping the bottom of the barrel. Well, that's where I am here too. So it's not great, but it's potentially good in the future. This is a card. I don't know that it's going to be a 4 of. Maybe it's just a 1 of. But this could be a monster card that nobody is talking about. Its attack is everyone draw. Shuffle your hand into your deck and draw a number of cards equal to the number of your bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. So realize that in Expanded, that could be up to 16 cards. For those of us in Standard, it's 10 cards. You get to put 10 cards in your hand. And I put 32 cards in here, and I miscalculated. It's not 32, it's 16. I was confusing that with Blaine's. Somehow confusing Blaine's with this. But still, this is great. To put 10 cards in your hand, even though your turn ends, is really good. I think it might even be better than Dunsparce, which we'll see coming up here in a minute. So obviously the counter to this is that people will be playing Judge. Zoroark decks will be playing Judge. I don't know if they'll be playing 4 Judge, but they'll definitely be playing Judge in the new meta. So that kind of counters your 10 cards. But you know what? They can't play it every time. And I think this is a really good card. I think this is really potentially a good way to really get yourself going. Especially in mid-game, if you don't have a draw supporter in hand, you can move this up, and then all of a sudden you have 10 cards in hand. And mid-game, if you put 10 cards in your hand and you have, 20 or 30 cards left in your deck, you're probably going to put the card you need in your hand. So definitely like Plusle. Dunsparce, just mentioned it a minute ago. This has been in the deck in the meta before, and this was a very, very, very common 4-of. Strike and run, search your deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon, put them on your bench, shuffle your deck, and switch Dunsparce. You may switch Dunsparce with one of your bench Pokemon. So there's some question as to whether or not the switch is optional. In the past, it was optional. So I'm not sure on that. But this was actually Ludicolo, Magcargo, Dunsparce, all 3 cards that we're getting reprints of in this set. It was a semifinalist deck in 2005. It was called King of the West. You can Google that and you can find the list, and these cards were there. So it's really interesting that we're getting a reprint of a very good deck in the past. Is this Bridget? No. Will this help you get started if you get this in your hand? Turn 1, fantastic. The problem is will you be able to get it in the active position turn 1? Or and really it's turn 1 going second, because you can't use it turn 1 going first. I mean, if it's turn 2 and you're using strike and run, you're probably going to be a step behind. And against the top tier decks, I don't know. So that's why I kind of feel that maybe Plusle might be better. Running Plusle and 4 Nest Balls might be the better way to go. But Love Disc, very similar to Dunsparce that we just had. Search your deck for a number of basic Pokemon equal up to the number of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Play them onto your bench. Again, so if your opponent plays, Dunsparce, turn 1, bam, there you go. You have at least 3 Pokemon on your bench too. So could be more. Again, it's an option. Again, it's one of these cards that they're giving us some options. We don't have Bridget anymore, but we're getting some different things that we can play with, some different things to try out. And something here is going to click. I don't know. Maybe it's running 4 Dunsparce and 4 Love Disc. I don't know. So we're just going to have to think differently than we did over the past couple of years. Delcatty. So if you know my writing, you know that I am not afraid to say the meta is wrong. All the reviewers that I've listened to are all poo-pooing this card, and all I can say is have you forgotten how good BS Seeker was? BS Seeker was one of the top, if not the most, if not the highest card that rotated out was it a year ago? I mean, BS Seeker was an amazing card. Now, granted, it's an item. I get it. This is not an item. This is a stage 1 Pokemon. This does not have the insta-playability that BS Seeker had. This gets you a supporter out of your discard. This gets you Guzma later in the game. This gets you Acerola. This gets you your draw supporter when you absolutely need it. I really think this is going to be a 1-1 line in a deck going to Worlds. And I think people are going to be like, oh, man, this is so great. He's going to pull the Delcatty. He's going to play the Delcatty for the Guzma and win the game. You're going to hear that at Worlds on a live stream. You're going to hear it. Somebody's going to pull Delcatty and pull a Guzma when they need it right at the end of the game to win a big game at Worlds. I'm 100% certain. Don't sleep on this card. Like I said, I think it's a 1-1, but, especially with Lure Ball, with Rescue Stretcher, with so many abilities to get, the stage, to get Delcatty out of your deck if you've had to discard it early in the game. I really think this card is going to be a valuable tech in a lot of decks. Shrine of Punishments. Between turns, put 1 damage counter on each Pokemon GX and Pokemon EX, both yours and your opponent's. If you remember this from like 2 years ago, Faded Town saw a ton of play. That put damage counters on Mega Pokemon. This is the same thing. It's going to see a ton of play outside of Tier 1 decks, because every Tier 1 deck is very GX heavy. So this is what I'm talking about, that I think we are going to see a spread deck archetype develop that will be extremely good. I could see it happening with Counter Catcher, Counter Energy, with Oricorio, with Tapu Koko. It's going to happen. It's going to happen that we're going to see a spread deck archetype. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I have a feeling it could be approaching top tier level. It could be the deck that no one wants to play. And a Oricorio, this is just what I mentioned, 30 damage to each Pokemon GX and EX in play. So, again, put this with Tapu Lele, the Fairy Tapu Lele, and all of a sudden, if you have 3 Rayquaza GX in play, 2 Sparkling Pom-Poms KOs at Rayquaza GX. So I think a spread deck could easily develop. Masked Royal. So we're losing Max Elixir, and I had always said, I said in my review this week on Pojo, they got it wrong. This should have attached to Stage 2s. Max Elixir should have been attached to Stage 2s, not to Basics. So here they've got a card. Okay, you go grab an energy card out of your hand for Grass, Fire, and Water. Patch to a Stage 2. The problem is that it's a supporter. It's just not as fun. Just not as much fun. You can't play 3 of these on one turn. So will it still see use? I don't know. We'll try it. We'll see it. Certainly it helps Swampert. Certainly it helps Blaziken. If Fire weren't going to be so good, I would say it would help Shiftry and Sceptile, but we'll get to that later. Stack Attack at GX. Everybody's really excited about this, mostly for its ability Ultra Wall. Any damage done to your Ultra Beast, spread opponent's attack is reduced by 10. Gigaton's Damp is 120 damage. Simply, this attack does 50 more damage for each prize card you've taken. So a great way to close out a game. Will be paired with Naganadel GX, Buzzwole GX. Unfortunately, it is weak to fire. Post-rotation, post-Dragon Majesty, this is a very bad thing. The other problem that I have with this is that even if you have 4 of them on your bench, will you be able to turn 2-hit KOs into 3-hit KOs? Because if you're turning a 2-hit KO into a 2-hit KO, you're really not doing yourself any good. Now, this could be good for Buzzwole. You know, if you turn Buzzwole into a 230 HP Pokemon, yeah, granted, there aren't a whole lot of Pokemon that can do 230. So you're probably turning Buzzwole, in many cases, from a 1-hit to a 2-hit KO. But I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be able to put 4 on your bench. And I don't know, I don't know. So I'm not as excited about this card as everybody else is. Deoxys. This is the Psychic and Power Blast Deoxys. This mostly getting attention for the Psychic attack, 20 plus damage for 2 colorless attachments. That does 20 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Basically meet your new Buzzwole tech. There are actually 3 Deoxys in this set. This is the only one that actually looks to have any promise. It's a 1-of tech in to Zoroark decks, maybe a 2-of tech in to Zoroark decks. Great against Buzzwole, worthless against everything else. Kecleon is another one that people are just kind of shooing off, and I'm not 100% sold on it, but any Pokemon that can hit 3 different types for weakness is something I think that we should be open-minded and objective about and not just kind of slough off. Because obviously, if you put a unit energy and a choice band on this, you're doing 220 damage to Buzzwole GX. And so basically you would have to have 4 stack attack on the bench to avoid Buzzwole being OHKO'd. Like I said, this will hit Squids, Buzzwole, Gardevoir, and even Magikarp for weakness. So anything that's going to hit a lot of different Pokemon for weakness, I think we need to consider. I'm definitely, this is your novelty deck. I think it could be more than a novelty deck. So I think there's a deck list out there for this. So. I gotta say, this is my favorite Pokemon in the entire set. She is clearly the cutest Pokemon ever. I gotta just warn you, this Pokemon will absolutely immobilize your opponents. It will cause them to become completely distracted by her cuteness. If you get too close to this Pokemon, she will overwhelm you with kisses. Just wonderful Pokemon. Definitely one that will definitely win over your heart. Like I said, my absolute favorite Pokemon in the set. So. In all seriousness, onto Electrode. So this card, it's just like it used to be in the past. It's a reprint. It KOs itself, and then if you do, you get to search your discard pile for 5 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. The good thing is it's an ability, so then you can promptly attack. It's not an attack, so then you still get to use your attack for that turn. So the problem is that from the discard pile makes this card unplayable. If it had been from your deck, 100% fantastic card, and it's only to non-EX and non-GX Pokemon. So it's still really good. It'd be great for Swampert. It'd be great for Ludicolo. Great for Blaziken. There are a number of really good cards that would benefit from this. The problem is it's from the discard. I've been playing a lot of Squids lately. You cannot get 5 energy in your discard until turns 3 or 4, at least. By then, you've probably gone down a prize or 2. Giving up another 2 prizes at that point, I'm sorry. Electrode just isn't going to do it. So. Slaking. So Slaking has the ability, lazy, as long as this Pokemon is the active Pokemon, your opponent's Pokemon have no abilities other than lazy. So I mean, they could use lazy on you too. So it's got a really good attack, 160 damage. You put a choice band on 190. It is weak to fighting, which is bad. Can't attack during the next turn. The fact that it has to be active makes it difficult to imagine this as a Garbotoxin Garbodor replacement. Glaceon GX hasn't made an impact yet. I just don't think Slaking will. You could potentially pair it with Donphan, which has a rapid spin attack, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Then your opponent actually switches their active with one of their bench too. But I just can't see it happening. This is a novelty deck. You know, maybe with Solgaleo GX, I don't know. But then you're talking multiple stage 2s. I don't know. I'm just not real excited about this. Masquerain, I put this on here as universal. It probably should be under grass. I just realized it. The attack that it has that's actually worth mentioning is a surprising pattern. Discard all special energy cards attached to your opponent's Pokemon in play. This could be good. Pre-rotation. Post-rotation, we're losing strong energy, so we're losing like half of our special energy cards, literally. If you've seen the analysis that I do on what cards are being used, you see that half of the special energy cards are strong energy cards. So, we only have DCE really. Maybe there'll be a little bit of unit energy with Kecleon. Maybe people would be using more unit energy, but so I just wanted to mention it. Potentially, if we see more special energy cards in the future, maybe this will see more use. But it is limited to just grass, and like I've said, grass is fire weak. Fire is developing, so I don't have a whole lot of hope for this, right now. I just wanted to mention it. All right, on to some of the specific types. Dragons. I wrote about this on PokédexCentral.com. This is a top tier archetype. It's tier 1. I don't understand exactly, at least for Worlds. I don't understand why people are saying this is not going to be tier 1. This is going to be as good as Buzzwole. It's going to be as good as Zoroark. It's going to be as good as the Squids. It's as good as any deck that's out there right now. Because pre-rotation, you'll be able to use Max Elixirs, Order Pads, and Puzzle of Time to use Max Elixirs again. As I've said, one of my favorite moves right now is to use Order Pad to go get Puzzle when you got a puzzle in hand, and then use those puzzles to go get 2 more Elixirs and play them again. I'm using this with like Shaman from Shining Legends and Zygarde from Forbidden Light, and I'm putting a lot of basic energy on my board. So I've identified 4 different archetypes. I think Vikavolt's the one that people are going to go to first. Venusaur is very attractive in that every one of these grass energies becomes 2. I'm actually thinking about pairing it with like a couple Ultra Beasts and throwing like Pheromosa and throwing grass energy down on your board with Beast Ring. I don't know. Magnezone could be used with even possibly Dragonair, way back from Sun and Moon base set. I don't think that'll work, but I just thought about it, maybe. Latias Prism, another card that obviously people are clearly pairing with this. Attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to each of your bench basic dragon Pokemon. There's also Drampa coming out in Dragon Majesty that attaches the energy from your discard to a bench dragon. I mean, obviously this is very, very good. Latios Prism probably won't see her play in Rayquaza, but it'll see play in other dragon archetypes. For 2 colorless, 50 times the number of evolution dragon Pokemon you have. It's going to be a really good card post Dragon Majesty. Rainbow Brush coming out. Really good card for the dragons for Rayquaza and for Ultra Necrozma. Search your deck for a basic energy card, switch it with an energy card attached, and it's again search your deck. So if you're Ultra Necrozma GX and you only have Psychic Energy, put yourself in the active, play Rainbow Brush, go grab one of your metals, Photon Geyser. So, likewise with Rayquaza GX, you only have grass on you. Bam, go get a Lightning. So I don't know if it'll be a 4 of, but I could easily see it as a 1 or 2 of in Rayquaza and Ultra Necrozma decks. Lantern, I know there was one review, Rare Candy really liked this. He's tried it. I'm not so sold on it. If you could move it to any Pokemon, I'd be 100% all in on it. I think Wishful Baton might be better. it will help maintain some of Rayquaza's damage, but again, the attack on this is not very good. So moving energy to this Pokemon, I mean, it's going to help sustain some of the damage, but again, Wishful Baton's probably better. And again, I kind of think, this is a bench spot that could be used. This is a Stage 1 Pokemon. This could be used for Vikavolt or Venusaur. So I'd rather see a Vikavolt or a Venusaur there than a Lantern myself. But I thought I'd mention it. Lance Prism's coming out in Dragon Majesty. This is going to be a great card as well. Search your deck for 2 Dragon Pokemon, put them on your bench. That's if one of your Pokemon is knocked out. It's any Pokemon. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Dragon Pokemon that's knocked out. Any Pokemon. You get to put any 2 Dragon Pokemon. Stage 1, Stage 2, any Dragon Pokemon you want. One of the Dragon that I saw that is similar to this, Dragonite GX, has a GX attack that'll put 3 Dragon Pokemon, again, any type, on your bench too. So there are definitely going to be ways for Dragons to get those Stage 1 and Stage 2 Pokemons out. Again, post-Dragon Majesty, I'm just giving you the idea that Rayquaza GX isn't going to be the only Dragon archetype coming up. Zinnia, this will also be a good card that we'll see played. You can play this card if your Pokemon was knocked out, just like with Lance. Attach 2 basic energy cards from your hand. That's the only bad thing from your hand. Ribombee might be seeing a lot of play in Dragon decks to your Dragon Pokemon. It's not double Dragon energy. It's got some limitations, but it can definitely serve to work to overcome the bad Dragon energy cost. All right, Nebulous Fire Archetype. So there are a lot of different fire Pokemon coming out in this set and in Dragon Majesty. So obviously this is the big guy, Blaziken GX. He could definitely be part of it. So the bigger one, though, that I don't know what happened to this. I thought Baby Blaziken was going to be in Celestial Storm, but I didn't see the list that was published on PokeBeach. Now, I don't know if that means it's getting pushed back to Dragon Majesty or what. But it has the ability to attach energy from the discard to a bench Pokemon, just like Malamar, just for fire energy. To me, this is going to be like the centerpiece of the fire archetype. And if this card isn't coming out, but there's no reason to think it's not coming out because Blaziken GX is coming out. So it's somewhere. I just don't know exactly where it is. And I do actually think that this is going to be more potent than Blaziken GX. So, but one of the other big cards that I see on the horizon is this Turtonator. And this is actually a dragon, but you can see its energy cost is 3 fire. And this does 50 damage for each card discarded in this discarded from this Pokemon. So you could Kiwawe on this, lose your turn, granted, attach another energy next turn. Oh, I didn't even think about it. Attach an energy on the previous turn, put 6 energy on this, and do 300 damage. This card could potentially be absolutely bonkers. So I think this has just a ton of potential. And granted, it's not a fire type. Nothing is weak to this. But when you could put 5 or 6 energy and do 50 times per energy, even though you have to discard them, and we're going to see there are plenty of ways for dragons to get energy. Like I said, Blaziken, there are plenty of ways for dragons to get energy back onto Pokemon. So I really think this Turtonator is going to be a monster. Charizard, this is also coming post-Dragon Majesty. I really like this card. This Pokemon is attached to 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon for each Pokemon GX, EX, and GX in play. So if your opponent has 2 Rayquaza GX in play, you OHKO it. 130 plus 30 and 30 is 190. This Charizard is going to be really good. This Charizard, Blaziken GX, there are just a number of really good fire and dragon Pokemon that are coming up. So this is the card that I thought was absolutely broken and the biggest draw support card in the history of Pokemon. But then I had misread it before. The fine print says you could only play this card if it is the only card in your hand. We could do that. There are Ultra Balls. We have ways of getting rid of cards. but it's not going to have the consistency that I thought. I read it and I thought, for each of your fire Pokemon in play, draw 2 cards, and I was so blown away by that, thinking, oh my gosh, you could get 32 cards in play if you're in expanded. Right? No, 16. Sorry, 16 cards in play if you're in expanded. But even still, with this, you could have, or 18 cards in play with expanded. You could get 12 cards. You could get 12 cards in play by using this. So I really do think that the fire archetype is going to develop, shortly after rotation, and it's going to be significant. Water. We did get some really interesting cards, some cards that will at least be novelty, if not good. Ludicolo lets you draw a card each turn. You don't even have to discard. So it's mostly being looked at, though, for the attack. This circular step, 70 damage plus 10 damage for each Pokemon in play. So obviously for standard, it excludes this Pokemon. So it can at most do 180, but obviously you put a choice band on it, it's 210. So, you're hitting really good numbers with this Ludicolo. It's good. It also has lightning weakness. There's no lightning anything. So it's a really good weakness to have right now. It's the best weakness to have. Swampert, obviously, everybody knows this is maybe better than Zoroark in that you discard a hand. This is Zoroark plus. You get to draw 3 cards instead of just 2. Granted, it is a stage 2 Pokemon. It still has a good attack, 80 damage plus 20 for each water attached to this. So you could easily do, 140, 160. This is a good card. I kind of struggle a little bit with putting this into the universal cards because, shuffle or, discard and then draw 3 is a really great, even better ability than Zoroark. We know how meta-defining Zoroark is. But I put it into water because it could be, a potential attacker. And I don't really think, until someone proves it, until someone, can put, 3 Swampert on their bench and, draw 9 cards in a turn, I don't think it will outclass Zoroark until someone can consistently do that. And it could happen, but I just don't see it right now. Right now I see a meta that we can put 2 or 3 stage 2s into play, maybe 4 in an entire game. So that's why I'm not quite as sold on Swampert. I don't think it's quite the Zoroark replacement that I originally thought it was, but it still could be very good. Psychic, I know a lot of people are up on Bayonet GX. Shady move, you can put a damage counter anywhere. This is great for Drampa GX. And, it could be, if you fell 10 short of a Pokemon on the previous turn, KO on a Pokemon on the previous turn, you get to KO at this turn. That could actually be used to your favor in that you could potentially use this to avoid Beast Rings. So you could potentially, be sitting on 5 prize cards and then potentially manipulate it so you could take a 3 prize card turn and skip the 4 and 3 prize cards. I don't know how consistent that is, but it has the potential to be there. Obviously, for a single Psychic Energy, you could potentially OHKO Buzzwole. Anything that can OHKO Buzzwole for 1 attachment, has to be, you have to look at it. This is just like, Kecleon. You got to look at Kecleon objectively. It OHKOs Buzzwole. You got to consider it. The GX attack is just like Decidueye. It's meh. So I'm not super big on this card. It's got Dark Weakness, so that's a bad weakness to have. But the other alternative for Psychic is Psychic, so it's not really much better. So I'm just not quite as high on Bayonet GX as everybody else is, but it's not horrible. Mr. Mime GX. So I know most players are just kind of, forget it. This totally. Did I just put a choice band on? I solve all my problems. Well, no, you can't solve all your problems with Mr. Mime GX by just putting a choice band on him, on whatever's attacking him. We do have Lysander Labs and we do have Field Blow. So you've got to also realize that for psychic Pokemon, like Bayonet GX, Deoxys, every attack that a psychic Pokemon does, oh, I'm misreading it. I'm just looking at it now. It has no weakness. I assumed it had psychic weakness. So forget what I just said. So, all right. So yeah, I am more jumping on it now. But I was thinking it had psychic weakness, but it doesn't. So I was thinking that every psychic Pokemon couldn't do anything. This would be like an auto. If this had psychic weakness, this would be an auto win against all psychic Pokemon. Because unless you're Necrozma GX and can hit for more than 260, you're not actually KOing it. But it doesn't have any weakness. So, no, I'm misreading. So it doesn't have any weakness. So I'm right. Okay. Sorry, my brain just stopped working for a minute. All right. So psychic Pokemon can. So I was thinking, so if you hit something for weakness and your base damage is say 90, well, it's automatically going to be 180. So it's automatically going to be even. So it has no weakness. So actually, the fact that it has no weakness to psychic actually works against it, because then you would have an automatic win against psychic Pokemon, but you do not. So now psychic Pokemon that would hit you previously for 90, 110, 130, 150 still hit you for that same amount. Okay. So now I am back on the, okay, I'm with everybody else now. It took me a minute. Mr. Mime is not particularly good. I don't think this is going to be anything influential. Grass, Ariados, again, this could be a novelty deck, maybe could be good. The first attack is what people are looking at a lot. Does 50 more damage for each special condition. So you could use this in pairing with the Fire Oricorio, which leaves them burned and confused, I think. You could use this with a variety of different, Salazzle. You could use it with Nihilego. There are a variety of different combinations you could put with this, but I just don't think it's going to do enough damage. And with the Well of Volcano Park, but it's weak to fire. And like I said, I'm really very certain that fire is going to be really, really good post rotation. So, sorry. Same with Sceptile. Before you fall in love with this card, 1, realize that Zoroark, Rayquaza, the Fire Archetype, and Squids all play feature Pokemon that aren't Ultra Beasts. And 2, it's fire weak. Sceptile has the ability to prevent itself from being attacked, from having any damage, not effects, but damage from any opponent of your opponent's Ultra Beasts. So it's great against Buzzwole and Beast Box. It loses to everything else. So, sorry. Again, Fire Weak. Most of the feature Pokemon you're going to come across aren't Ultra Beasts. So, sorry, Sceptile. Shiftry GX. I know a lot of people really, really, really want this to be good, but why do we think that this is going to be any better than Incineroar or Primarina or Alolan Golem? There are so many other Vikavolt GX, there's so many other Stage 2 GXs out there that just don't have it. And this to me just seems to be right in line with every other Stage 2 GX that just falls short. I mean, it's okay. It's going to win you some matches, but it's not top tier. So that's going to close out my review here. Thanks very much for watching this. Check out PokédexCentral.com. Go read my reviews on Pojo.com. Leave any comments you want below. I appreciate your taking the time to listen to this review. Thanks a lot. Take care.